Um, Welcome to a small little video. Before we get started with this video about trying to get this to work with REPL, I'm going to be swapping between two screens here a little bit. That's just showing you a student and teacher perspective. But for your end to get started, to get the REPL working, I would go into your GitHub Classroom. I just typed it in on Google here, so we can click on this one here, and it should bring you to your GitHub Classroom for your organization. This is one that I created for testing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And unfortunately, if we need to use REPL for this student to work with this, we cannot use private repos, which is what the majority of the assignments are. So what I would suggest just for this student, because he might be absent for a bit of time, to hit new assignment here, and then maybe give the students a specific name. For me, I'm going to say John Lynch absent work, something along the lines of that, so the student will know it's there specifically. And even though the repository needs to be visible here, so make sure the repository is visible, the other students won't be able to see or accept this assignment without using the link. And if they search how does a GitHub username, they might be able to see this. But again, once you get the work from him, you might be we can delete the repo. Excellent. So I would just leave this with the individual assignment, leave the deadline optional blank, or if you want to put in a deadline, that's up to you. It does give you the dates here. You can give it whatever title you'd like. Just make sure it's public or the next steps won't work. Do not grant them the admin access either, and let's hit continue. And now we're going to give this student some starter code. So here with select the repository, I'm just going to go ahead and try to search for my repository. And again, your classroom should have all the labs brought over. So I'm just going to type in AWS, and I'm getting this from up here to top left. It will be different for you with your work. I'm going to say test account Lynch. And then if we scroll down here to all these AWS test accounts, you'll see that these are where all the labs are. I have my variables and constants lab, so I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to hit continue. And then we don't need to add an auto grading test or enable feedback pull requests. We can just hit create assignment next. And great. Now, this is where I mentioned that they can only see this public repo if they've accepted the assignment. It doesn't notify the other students about this. So what you would like to do next for your step is to either grab the link from up here, from right here. You can either highlight it and Control A, or easier is to just grab this copy to clipboard, and either via email or whichever method you think is the most efficient, send this link to your student. So on this screen here, I have a little mock-up GitHub account, and I'm going to make a new tab here, and let's just say you sent me an email and I clicked on this link. When I go ahead and I hit this link here, I'll be in, as a student, I'll be asked to log in. I'm on a private window, so I have to log in manually. But as long as the student is logged in, they should see the following screen. So we get redirected after I clicked on this link, and then I get asked, hey, you need to accept the assignment of absent work, so I'm going to go ahead and accept this assignment. Now, if I refresh this here, this is just the basic repo that we're working with the GitHub repository. And as a student myself, I can actually click on this here, and I'll see, okay, this is my GitHub repo that I need to work with. Now on our end here, the next step that we need to do for this student to be able to work with Swift is for us ourselves as the teacher to go to Swift REPL, type it in online, REPL, Swift before it. And then the second one is the one I'm going to click on, excuse me. And I want to make sure that I'm not logged in yet, because I just want to show you, because it might look a bit different on your end. So when you first open it up, it should, let me just get back to this one more time. Apologies for this. So right here is what we might see right away on the student's end. If they've never logged into this, that's what they'll see too. What we want to do here is I'm going to hit login, and then we're going to hit continue with GitHub. Now this should automatically log me in with my GitHub, and on your end, Andrew, what you want to do next is at the top left where you, after you log in with GitHub, you're going to see create REPL. and it's going to ask you a bunch of information here. Just go to the top right and hit import from GitHub. Now, this can be a little bit glitchy, but the URL that you want to get for this GitHub URL is this repo that the student has opened up. Now, I was on the student's end and I was able to access it easily. For you, the way that you can find this easily is if you go back to your classroom, and then you see the absent work. There's two here. Mine was absent work. So I click on absent work, this assignment, and then what do you know, I see right here John Lynch has his own repo. So I'm going to hit go to repo. And now I'm in this repository, and you can either select the URL to copy it, or you can go into, you can select the URL up here. What I like to do is just hit code, and then just hit this copy button right here. This copies the URL for this student-specific repo, and we're going to paste it in here. So it should paste right away. If yours is being a little glitchy and it doesn't paste, actually click in the URL and then delete everything until you see a github/user/repo like this. And then actually type in a few things and then do a Control A or Command A and paste in that URL. For me, it was being a bit odd. I just want to make sure it works for you on your end. Then after you paste in the URL, I'm going to hit import from GitHub. And the reason why we made it public, if you're wondering, is because in this step, we wouldn't be able to do this because it's a private repo, and we wouldn't be able to access it with Swift REPL. Excellent. So what we actually did here is we copied over this student's repo into our own REPL online. And the next step that we would need to do here is go ahead and let me just show you everything is working. We see main.swift. This is the empty lab that we're working with. And if we go ahead into the top right, we hit invite. We'll then be able to try and invite someone by username or email. The student most likely hasn't made a username with this yet. If you want to use an email, that's fine too. I would suggest just hit generate a join link, and then you can invite some friends with the join link, and then I'm going to hit copy. Now, what I'm going to do next is, what you want to do again is send this to the student, this link specifically, whichever way that you would like to do it, or if you want to use email, that's up to you. And as the student in this screen, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, I got the email from Andrew, or the link from Andrew. I'm going to hit enter. And now it should bring you to, hey, log into your account. Now, what you want to do here as a student as well is to just make sure to hit continue with GitHub. Because I'm in a private window, I have to re-enter it. It should automatically fill this out if they've logged into GitHub on their Chromebook for them. And when I'm typing in here, well, I won't say my password, but after I type in my information to log in, you'll then see here that I am now in this REPL. And you can see here, it's a little confusing because it's my face still. But if I go back to the teacher's view, you'll now see that I have this new person here, Lynch John 98 backup. So in this student's view, what I can now do from main Swift is say, hello, I am the student. And here, I guess I should probably code for you. So var test is equal to hello world. Great. And then I can try and say, okay, I'm going to run this. I'm the student. I'm trying to run the code here. Maybe I can also print out test. Let's try one more item here. This one running just yet. Regardless, the student should be able to run the code too. We can look at that in a bit, but now the student has access to the code. And if we go ahead and look back at our information over here, we'll now see that my updates are actually working here. And the student can go ahead and try to try to type in the code. So again, a few ways that you could grade this is directly in the console. If they are printing out anything, you will see the student working on it. You can also just go ahead and on your end, Andrew, just copy and paste this information into maybe your grade or your own item there as well. But this is one way you can do it as well. And then you can see here that you can also write comments, and then it will pop up on my end here.